phones, Babylons can't crack the code.
What do YouTube? B Kelly back again with another banger video. In today's video, y'all, I'm going to be talking about what happened to the past 10 number 1 athletes coming out of their recruiting class from 2011 to 2020. And for this video, I'm using the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. The number 1 ranked athlete in the nation coming out of the 2011 recruiting class was James Wilder, who was a 5-star recruit and the 25th best player in the nation, and he was committed to Florida State. James Wilder at Florida State would end up playing running back, where in the 3 seasons he spent at Florida State, he rushed for 1,363 yards, averaging 6 yards per carry, and 20 total touchdowns on the ground in his career. Now, the thing about James Wilder at Florida State is that he was never the main back. He was always splitting carries in his career. In 2012, his sophomore season, he had his best season yet, where he rushed for 640 yards, averaging 6 yards per carry, and 11 touchdowns. But after his junior season in 2013, he would declare his name for the 2014 NFL Draft, where he went undrafted. In James Wilder's NFL career, he signed with teams such as the Cincinnati Bengals and Buffalo Bills. But it was a very short career, and he never made an active roster and was on the practice squad for the Bengals most of his career, but with the Buffalo Bills he got hurt, then released. James Wilder would then take his talents to the CFL, the Canadian Football League, from 2017 to 2019, where he had some pretty dang good seasons, but for the 2020 Canadian Football League season, with the season in doubt, he would end up retiring. But recently, on February 9th, 2021, he came out of retirement and has signed with the Edmonton football team of the CFL. In the 2012 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation was Eryk Armstead, who was the 14th best player in the nation and a 5-star recruit who was committed to Oregon. Eryk Armstead would end up playing for the Oregon Ducks for 3 seasons, where his career totals he had was 87 total tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 2 pass deflections, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 forced fumble, all as a defensive lineman. Eryk had a couple decent seasons in his freshman and sophomore year, but he had a monster 2014 college football season as a junior, where in 11 games he had 46 total tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. And after this monster season, he would end up declaring for the 2015 NFL Draft, where he was taken with the 17th overall pick in the first round by the San Francisco 49ers. Eryk Armstead, in his career with the 49ers, would not get off to the fastest start. In his rookie season, he would start in 1 of 16 games he played in, but in 2016 and 2017, he would only end up appearing in 14 of the 32 games for those 2 total seasons, as he struggled with injury issues in both seasons. But fortunately, from 2018 to present day, he has not missed a single regular season game yet, and he has started in all of them since then. In Eryk Armstead's 6-year career with the 49ers so far, he has been a pretty valuable player on their defensive line. In his career so far, he has 201 total tackles, 22.5 sacks, and 30 tackles for loss. And he had a monster 2019 season where he had 10 total sacks on the season, 54 total tackles, and 11 tackles for loss. Coming out of the 2013 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation was Derrick Henry, who was a 5-star recruit and the number 12 player in the nation, who was committed to Alabama. Derrick Henry would spend 3 seasons at Alabama, where in his career he rushed for 3,591 yards, averaging 6 yards per carry, and an insane 42 touchdowns on the ground. Now, I do understand that a lot of my viewers probably do know who Derrick Henry is, because he is one of the best running backs in the league currently right now. But something you may have not known is that he did not become a main running back in Alabama's system until his final year in 2015. Yes, he got the ball a lot in 2014, but 2015, his Heisman winning year, was the first time he was actually the main back in their system, and he definitely showed out, as in 15 games he rushed for 2,219 yards, averaging almost 6 yards per carry, and had 28 total touchdowns, and was the Heisman winner. After a monster 2015 college football season, Derrick Henry would forgo his last year of eligibility at Alabama and declare his name for the 2016 NFL Draft, where he was taken in the 2nd round, 45th overall pick by the Tennessee Titans. In Derrick Henry's first 2 years in Tennessee, he would not be the main back at all and is honestly coming off the bench more than he was actually playing in a game. He still got a good amount of carries, but he only started in 4 games in 31 games in his first 2 seasons in the league. But after those first 2 years, he would become the main back, and he definitely did not disappoint. So far, in his 5-year career in Tennessee, he has rushed for 5,860 yards, averaging 5 yards per carry, and a total of 55 touchdowns on the ground. Some of Derrick Henry's accolades so far in his young career is that he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, a 1-time All-Pro, and the 2020 AP Offensive Player of the Year. In the 2014 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation was a 5-star recruit and the number 3 player in the nation as well, and that was Jabrill Peppers, who was committed to Michigan. Jabrill Peppers is the first guy in this video who actually was an athlete in college. He played multiple positions while at Michigan on both sides of the ball. But on the defensive side of the ball, in his career, he had 119 total tackles, 18.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 1 interception. In his career on the offensive side of the ball, he would have 239 rushing yards, averaging 5 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns on the ground, and 82 receiving yards in his career. In the 2016 college football season, Jabrill Peppers won the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, was a consensus All-American, won the Ronnie Lott Trophy, and the thing that I think is the most impressive of them all was that he finished 5th place in Heisman voting as a defensive player. After an amazing 2016 college football season, he would declare his name for the 2017 NFL Draft, where he was taken with the 25th overall pick in the first round by the Cleveland Browns. Jabrill Peppers has played in the NFL 4 years so far on 2 different teams. His first 2 years in the league were the Cleveland Browns, as he was their starting safety, then he was dealt off to the New York Giants and is now their starting safety. Now, Jabrill Peppers has had a pretty good career so far, I would say, has 4 career interceptions, has a total of 304 total tackles, 19 tackles for loss, and even 3.5 sacks. Jabrill Peppers also has 4 forced fumbles and 5 fumble recoveries in his career so far. In the 2015 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation ranked as the 27th best player and a 5-star recruit by the name of Terry Godwin, who was committed to Georgia. In Terry Godwin's 4-year career at Georgia, he had 1,800 yards of receiving, averaging 13 yards per reception, and 11 touchdowns through the air. Now, he was never really the main receiver while he was there, but he still got his targets. His best season was coming in 2017, where he had 639 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns through the air. Godwin would end up getting drafted in the 7th round of the 2019 NFL Draft by the Carolina Panthers, but he was waived during the final roster cuts right before the 2019 NFL season. Shortly after, he was picked up to join the practice squad for Jacksonville, where he stayed with them the entire season on the practice squad. In the 2020 NFL season, he was sporadically on and off the active roster for the Jaguars, and he was mainly on the practice squad, but he was on the active roster in some parts of the season. In the 2016 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation was McCole Hardman, who was the 12th best player in the nation and a 5-star recruit who was committed to Georgia. McCole Hardman, in his 3 seasons at Georgia, was a wide receiver and a threat in the special teams game as a punt and kick returner, as he was very good at both of those. But as a receiver, in the 3 seasons that he was at Georgia, he had 961 receiving yards, 16 yards per reception, and 11 touchdowns through the air. McCole Hardman would end up forgoing his final year of eligibility at Georgia and declared his name for the 2019 NFL Draft, where he was taken in the 2nd round by the Kansas City Chiefs. McCole Hardman, so far in his 2 seasons he spent in Kansas City so far, has been a pretty underrated receiver and a pretty reliable one as well. So far in his career, he has 1,098 receiving yards, averaging 16 yards per reception, and 10 receiving touchdowns. Now, where he's best at is actually in the kick return game, and in 2019, he even made the Pro Bowl as a kick returner. And more importantly, he is a Super Bowl champion. In the 2017 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation was Greg Johnson, who ranked as the 102nd best player in the nation and a 4-star recruit who was committed to USC. Greg Johnson, so far in his career at USC, has had 65 total tackles, 8 pass deflections, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and even 2 interceptions. Now, Greg Johnson is a very good player and very impactful for the USC Trojans, but these past few seasons, it seems like every year he gets hurt, in some shape, way, or form, which it just really sucks to see because he's such a good player, but he is coming back for the 2021 college football season, and hopefully then he will have a healthy season and really show what he's about in a healthy year. In the 2018 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation was a 4-star recruit ranked as the 49th best player in the nation that was committed to Auburn, and this was Joey Gatewood. Joey Gatewood would spend the first 2 years of his college career at Auburn, where he was a backup quarterback in both seasons. His first year he actually redshirted, but after his redshirt freshman season in 2019, he would end up transferring to Kentucky. Just like his 2 seasons at Auburn, Joey Gatewood spent the 2020 college football season at Kentucky primarily as a backup quarterback to Terry Wilson, but right now, he's projected to be the starting quarterback for Kentucky in the 2021 college football season because Terry Wilson has entered the transfer portal. In the 2019 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation was a 5-star recruit and ranked as the number 9 player in the nation, and that was Brew McCoy, who was committed and signed to Texas, but I'm not going to go too much in depth. If you guys want a video on his whole recruitment and where he is now, he basically is now at USC. In Brew McCoy's true freshman season, he would not appear in any games due to an injury, and he would miss the entire season, effectively redshirting. But in the 2020 college football season, now that he was healthy, he would end up playing in 6 games where he had 236 receiving yards, 11 yards per reception, and 2 touchdowns. In the 2020 recruiting class, the number 1 athlete in the nation was a 5-star recruit and ranked as the 22nd best player in the nation, and that was Drew Sanders, who was committed to Alabama. In the 2020 college football season, Drew Sanders appeared in 12 games for Alabama, where he was primarily on special teams, but he had 9 total tackles on the season. Well guys, now that I'm at the end of the video, leave video suggestions down below, and remember to smash that like button, turn on them post notifications, and subscribe for more videos. B. Kelly out!